Let me first say that Mr. Robert Cole Jr., I am so happy that I am speaking with you for I'll Be Doggone.
And
And
I appreciate the call.
congratulations.
I appreciate the call.
Man,
Absolutely.
congratulations. And I will definitely say, well, I'll give a little synopsis about it because it's about a
Okay.
vet. He has Mike Tyson's dog and he loses it 3 days before the dog show. And so
That's the unthinkable.
so curious when it comes down to Chip, did this like you know somebody in real life? Is this relatable to you as somebody in real life?
Kind of sort it is. I have a colleague who's a vet, and he had a similar situation. A lot of it was kind of just improvised. My mind just kind of started having some fun with the storytelling of it. And it grew into I'll Be Doggone.
I
Absolutely.
think it had to be based off of somebody that you knew, the way that you wrote it. And like when it comes down to just I kind of want to backtrack for a second outside of the script. You're an attorney. You're a
Well,
fully
I went to law school. I went to school to learn how to write. I don't practice
okay.
law, but I do have a law degree.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay. Because I was just like, what happened? How did you go into this transition of now wanting to go into the movie space?
When I worked at a prominent law firm in Century City as a clerk, and it was an entertainment law firm. We had a lot of big name entertainers. I've always liked to write, but I've always wanted to have a role in entertainment. I had a management company. I think it was called To the Top Management. So I managed an artist. I had a band. So I've always loved entertainment. And then that kind of morphed into writing, I guess. And so, like I said, I've always been a good writer. And then I started kind of writing for other people. When I was a kid, I used to always tell the best stories. When we get in trouble, my cousins would ask me to tell the aunt and uncle what happened. I would always explain things. So my stories were always great stories. So let's just say I've been a storyteller since birth.
A
Thank you.
comedian at heart, I see.
I think I'm funny. I think I'm funny.
Man, and quick question: out of what all the celebrities and whatnot, do you happen to know Mike Tyson?
I've met him a couple of times. I actually initially wrote the script for Kevin Hart. And his agency, they got kind of busy for it. Right, it was during like COVID. But I met Mike a couple of times. I know Kevin's agent, so I know a few other prominent comedians. I thought I had in mind for something like this. And the thought was, if you imagine a Kevin Hart in this situation for a script like this, the dog was a Tibetan Mastiff, which is one of the biggest dogs in the world. So it was like having little Kevin Hart, this big dog. He's a vet. He loses this dog. It was just comedy to me. Comedy Central. Comedy Central. Comedy
Man,
Central.
when it comes down to just the pacing, and then when you're writing the storyline, how do you keep it engaging from the beginning to the end?
A lot of the story happens over a course of time. I mean, it took me maybe 10 or 11 months to write. Some of the scenes, and not to give it away, for instance, I was out at this restaurant, this place for dining in LA. It's called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And this guy walked by
So
me,
yeah.
smelling like, right, I know it is. This guy walked by me 10 o'clock in the morning. This guy walked by me as I'm just having breakfast, smelling like marijuana. Like he had just drenched a shower in marijuana. And initially I thought, who smokes marijuana that early? I took out a napkin and a pencil and wrote some notes. And I added this cameo with Snoop in there and marijuana. I don't want to give the story away, but a lot of the story was just kind of organically developed or just over time. Just things came to me. So that part, from that whole scene at Roscoe's, Snoop was added like a 5-minute cameo. And I'm hoping he'd do the part as well. So fingers crossed.
I like that you also said that it took you 11 months because some people, they will simply write the script in like a week or a couple of days and done. Did you have any hiccups or roadblocks whenever you were writing this?
No, I would say that over the course of 11 months, there were some parts that I changed. Like, obviously the stories about a veterinarian who loses a dog. I think after like this 8th month, I moved the dog a little closer to come up missing sooner than later. I added characters along the way. I think I mentioned, Snoop Dogg. I added him as a character I'd like to have in the script towards the end as a cameo. I added Martha Stewart. I saw a commercial one day and I added her in there as a cameo. So, when you start adding characters to kind of make it flush, you have to kind of go back to the beginning, change the script. So I just had to make sure everything kind of matched. So 11 months, it probably took me a little over 13 months to get it to where I thought it was presentable. Because, in Hollywood, you have to have it right. Sometimes you get one chance to present it to someone. So I definitely took my time with it. I really had some fun writing it. Like I said, the comedy, the characters, it was really, for me, therapeutic, really therapeutic.
Who would you say is your favorite character in this script?
I would say it would probably have to be, again, knock on wood, be Kevin Hart. I mean, he's my favorite comedian. The story is, he's a veterinarian to the rich and famous. He loses Mike Tyson's dog, does the unthinkable, found the biggest dog I could find, which is a Tibetan Mastiff. It's a huge dog, huge dog. And so to me, imagine a Kevin Hart who's 5'2", this huge dog, and he's trying to control the dog. He ends up losing the dog. And now he's trying to find the dog so he doesn't lose his life and his business. So having him in this would be perfect for me if I could get someone like a Kevin Hart.
I think this would be something that he would be interested in. And I say that because one thing I like about your comedy is that you have an original script, and that is what people are looking for. They are truly looking,
Absolutely.
especially, I don't know if you saw the recent news with Warner Brothers, with how now it's like because, sinners and movies like that that were original, they're
Right,
making more revenue
right,
and more money from these
right,
stories. This is something that I think audiences, they will definitely
right.
love. And do you have any ideal people in mind that you want to work with, or the types of personalities you want to work with?
Yeah, I mean, I have a list of producers. So what I did is I put together a list of people, producers and directors that have done movies like Tim Story was somebody I like to work with. But you look at your movies that are comedy based, Ride Along, Jumanji, all the ones that have a comedic tone to them. Those are the movies that I like to. I even looked at, reaching out to directors who directed Ace Ventura. So a lot of those movies have a similar flavor of comedy as this does. And incidentally, you know, there was a film about 2, 3 years ago. They were filming at my neighbor's house this movie called You People with Eddie Murphy. And so my neighbor does set production. And so when they rent his house out, they rent my house out because it's right across the street. So Eddie Murphy was actually here at my house while they were shooting. And so my neighbor who has a dog, my son, who was 13 at the time, said, "Hey, Dad, what would happen if the dog chased Eddie Murphy?" And I said, "Well, we would probably see how fast Eddie Murphy could run, right?" So we kind of laughed, and the producers on set laughed. And it was at that point I said, "You know what? I'm going to write a script about a dog and a comedian." And it just kind of gravitated towards a Kevin Hart like figure, a big dog. He's a veterinarian, rich and famous, went Hollywood. And over the course of time, the story just kind of morphed into what it is today.
Do you have any tips for people?
Yeah, for me, some of it, I watch a lot of TV. I watch, of course, a lot of movies. So some of it, I try to make it realistic with the family, with the kids. Some of the things that kids do and say, if you have daughters, they do and say with dads. Um, there's a scene in there where the dad is doesn't want the mom to know something, so then there's a secrecy between the dad and the kid. So I just try to take several different perspectives of a family life and blend it into the storyline, if you will.
Believe that audiences, different people, they're going to be able to relate within their own personal life, and it's going to do very well.
Thank you.
Be very
I mean, if you are a dog lover or a pet lover or animal lover, you're going to appreciate this. You have someone who does the unthinkable and it's funny along the way. His friends are involved. I mean, it's just to me, I just try to involve his family, his friends. Some of the characters are part of like he has a brother who's a minister, he's involved. I mean, it's just really, really funny. I mean, it's so many different perspectives of humor.
Do you plan on writing more and more comedies, or are you doing other categories as well? What else are you writing?
3 other comedies that I'm writing, for something like this, because my thing is to have other stuff in the hopper, should this get picked up by a production company. So, no, I do have about 3 other comedy scripts that I'm working on. And incidentally, I have 1 science fiction script that I'm working on as well. It's a futuristic kind of a script, should I say, without giving too much away. But no, I do have other scripts I'm working on. 2 that I'm almost finished, and 1 more that I'm working on.
I feel like you're very humble and you're not saying too much right
Stop
now.
some more, stop some more, stop some more.
Oh, I'm just saying, and I'm curious for anybody that would love to be in your shoes that is inspired by you, or anybody even in the LA area, because that's where you live.
Right,
Do you have
right.
any advice to the new people that are entering in this space? Like, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would like to share with someone?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, a lot of times it's just about relationships that you have. I mean, I've met so many people along the way that I have known for years and kept in contact with. So it's just relationships, but something that you do, you just have to be kind of committed to it. If success was easy, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be successful, but it's not. It's something you have to be committed to through thick and thin. You have to, do your homework. Like I read a lot for this script. Like for instance, I wanted to find the most expensive dog. So I had to research that. I wanted to find the biggest dog. Because I wrote it for Kevin Hart, I looked at all of the interviews that he did. I went to see him once perform in Vegas, took notes. So I really kind of, put my heart and soul into this and I was committed. So you just have to really be committed to it. And everybody gets knows, success doesn't happen overnight. People that see people that are successful, it seems like it just happens because they're good. They start out. Kevin Hart, when he started out, they were throwing chicken bones at him, chicken wing bones when he started. So people, you just have to be committed to it. And honestly, sometimes some things may not be for everybody, like everybody who wants to be a writer. You just have to be that person that doesn't apply to. And to make sure that doesn't apply to you, you got to do the extra. You got to go the extra mile. You got to read more, write more, be in that group because at the end of the day, you have to maintain control of your destiny and you have to outwork the next person because there are 1,000 writers. You have to be that extra writer that goes beyond and above to make it in this world, especially in entertainment.
I love what you just said. You said some very important things about persistence, and no, no for me means next opportunity now. Um,
Absolutely.
I will say when it comes down to relationships, you hit the nail on the head because that, I believe, is what makes you different than most people. Those relationships and making sure that they're genuine relationships.
Yeah, and to that point, I approach people, pretty well. I'm not shy. And there's some people that may not be as personable. You got to team up with somebody that can be that person that you're not, because your people skills are what shines for you. That gets you across the line. That is what is inviting for people to want to work with you. And so that part is really big to help people that are writers or actors to get that gig or to get that script. Get somebody to read. I mean, it's really hard to even get someone to read a script. And I've just been blessed to have several big production companies to now read my script, and I'm kind of waiting now. But how you are as a person, you represent your script, and you just got to be kind of a people person at the end of the day. Can't be shy about it. You got to want it.
I'm just going to just clap. I'm going to keep clapping for anybody that is kind of struggling right now in this journey, trying to make that transition. How can people stay in contact with you?
I have an email address, Robert at I'llBeDoggoneMovie.com. People can email me if they have any questions. You know, the other thing that I'd advise is, have people in your circle of what you do to team up with. You can critique each other. Like I have people in my circle, we share each other's ideas, concepts. What about this? What about that? As I was writing the script, several of my friends, some of them in entertainment, some of them not, I let them read the script. I have a deck. Let me know your thoughts. I try to find, okay, who owns a pet? Read this. What do you think? Is this realistic? So I created like a team of a support base, and so that kind of helped me develop the script. So to answer your question, you try to join a group that you can all be supportive of each other, of writers. Like I'm in a couple of different writing groups. So that kind of keeps me motivated to keep writing, to kind of keep putting the pen to the ink to the paper.
You know what? I want to ask you another question. I feel like I really want to ask you this because you did such a great job. How do you feel the way that you write? How do you feel? What are your thoughts on AI and writing? Because I'm so curious from your perspective.
To me, am not a big fan of AI only because I like I like things to be natural, if you will. And for me, um, AI is something that doesn't allow a writer to express himself 100%. I want a natural flow of information, a natural flow of facts, a natural flow of comedy. And to me, AI is not something that I have embraced as I write. I
That's
have
one
not.
thing why I think your script is different and because you made it very relatable in real life, and
Absolutely.
I wanted them to hear it from your mouth.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not to mention, it's kind of like exercising. You can get somebody to do your exercising for you, but if you do it yourself, you better hone your skills of writing and your talents, right? Because at the end of the day, at some point, you're going to have to go before whomever and present your script, and you don't want to have second guess yourself about what you're writing because of some other source providing information. It's a natural right for me. The script was naturally written. There were things that I added that I think that makes the script worth a read and worth a look by a production company, because these were things that I developed over time, just from experiencing, whether I'm seeing it on TV, or whether a friend encounters something. And so I think that's what made this a natural fit, for the script. And again, it's an original storyline, and so it was just a natural flow of information.
Thank you. I feel like it was also necessary this year to ask that question in the age of AI because I appreciate the soul element of
Yes.
it. I know some people want it quick and easy.
Yeah.
However, I feel like the soul of all of us, that's what keeps this alive and it keeps it beautiful and people respect it.
No, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you want to, be a successful writer, but you also want to get better. And to me, it just seems hard to get better at something if you're only giving something, 70% and AI is giving it 30%. It's like you're limiting your skills. You're not testing yourself. You're not pushing yourself to be all you can be. And with this script, like I wrote, sometimes at 3 in the morning, I would wake up with thoughts about writing something. I'd be somewhere driving, I'd pull over and have some notes, and now I look back and it was just so much fun. It's like all me, no AI, no, and to me, I really feel accomplished. Even though if it takes another 6 months or whatever time to get it made, I really feel like I did something on my own without any, AI assistance.
You're a true artist.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate.
And I am super excited because I will be seeing you in a couple of months. So
Yes,
I'm super
yes,
excited to see you in person.
yes. Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate the time that you took to kind of get me involved, to kind of talk. You answered all my questions, very supportive. This was a very easy process in terms of applying, submitting my script. And I'm glad you had a section for comedy script writers, because something like this gives people like me a voice to be heard. Because like I said, there's thousands of script contests, but yours focus on the people that are trying to be discovered, and that's really needed in this type of situation. Okay, so I just want to thank you for everything, for helping the little people trying to become big people.
I think sometimes people see all the noise and it's just like, there are some people
Yeah.
that really shouldn't like be out there like that.
Right,
The reason why I'm involved with all of this, why it's important to me is like there's so much darkness in the world and then we need
right.
new stories and more
Oh,
light.
absolutely,
You're
absolutely,
bringing light in this soul,
absolutely.
like I say.
God is going to bless you. I'm sure He's going to bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cole. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Absolutely, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Take care.